Hi students, let's get started. Let's do Unit 5, Tracing Photos. Click more if you're in the plan. Wonderful. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here on 5.01. In this unit, you'll trace the outline of an image and color it in. Tracing photos. In this lesson, you'll add a new layer, then use the paintbrush tool to trace an image. Goals. Learn how to add and hide layers. Use brushes to trace an image's shape. Layers and brushes. GIMP has two windows, or docks, on its right-hand side. The top is the Layers, Channels, and Paths window. You'll be using layers in this lesson. The bottom is the Brushes, Patterns, and Gradients window. You'll be using brushes in this lesson. Layers are like transparent or see-through cards with images, text, or colors. Layers let you work on different parts of an image separately. This makes it easier to make changes to a project without worrying about ruining what you've done before. You can tell that a layer is on top because nothing else will be covering it. Which of the following shapes is the top layer? If you guessed circle, you're correct. All right, so let's go ahead and open up GIMP. Look at that. It's blinking at me at the bottom. There we go. It's open. Woohoo! Okay, so we're going to get a resource image from Unit 5. So you're going to go to File, Open. I have my image design folder saved in my pictures, and I'm going to scroll down and look for that image design folder that I created for this class. All right, and double click in your resources and go into Unit 5. All right, so hopefully you have a preview window where you can kind of see what you're looking at. I've got mine, so yeah, I've got a piggy bank there, a cell phone, a pumpkin, a polar bear, and a brain. I'm going with the polar bear. I think that this will be the funnest, so I encourage you to do it with me. Go ahead and click Open. Excellent. Let's look at what size this is. Look down here. Woo, it says it's at 100%. That's fantastic. Let's see, does it fit in the whole viewing window? Let's go to View, Zoom, Fit Image in Window. And look, yes, it's just the perfect size to display on the computer screen. So we are not going to have to scale this image down. That's fantastic. All right, so we did a little bit of layer work in our last unit. So we're going to create a new layer. And there are a couple of different ways you can do that. But once again, in the event that you're missing your tools, your tool options, your layers, or your brushes, where do you find those? In the Windows menu. So click on Windows. Your toolbox is right here. And under Dockable Dialogues, that's where you're going to find your docks. These are little docks. Okay, so if you're missing your tool options or your layers or channels or paths or brushes or any of that kind of fancy stuff, this is where you find it. So you just click on layers if you need your layers. Now you can create a new layer just by clicking right here, but you know what? What do we always do first? We're gonna save. So File, Save As. Excellent, and you can tell where it's saving it to right here. It's saving it in my pictures, inside of my pictures folder. It's saving in my image design folder. Inside of that, it's saving it in my resources folder, and inside of that, it's saving it in my Unit 5 folder, okay? Can you remember how you're supposed to name your files? What's the first thing that you put down? Your first and last name. So your first and last name is always the first thing that you're going to type, and you can just call this one Unit 5. And this is going to be tracing a polar bear. So if you want to put Unit 5 trace, that way you can kind of remember what you did. That would be great. All right, and this is an XCF file because we're saving our GIMP work right now. So click Save. Perfect. Now you can see the file name here at the top of this page. And now we can create a new layer. So you can just click there. Awesome. And we're going to call this layer line. Since it was highlighted in blue, all I have to do is type line there. And you want to make sure that it says transparency. Now, the reason why you want it to be transparent is because then if I erase anything on this, watch, I can grab my eraser. Well, never mind. I'm making a bad example. We don't have anything on this layer yet, so there isn't anything that I could really do. But you'll see how this all works in a second. So just bear with me. Sorry about that. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Now, sometimes when my RAM is all used up, like if I'm making this video, I won't be able to create a new layer with this cute little icon right here. So I'll have to just go over to the layer menu. Remember, layer is all things layer. So if it's something about layers, you might find it there. So this is where you could create a new layer. This is where you could, if you need to raise or lower your layers, you could do it here. Because sometimes when I'm used up a lot of RAM, it won't let me use these little icons. So I can go in and do it manually here. You can delete layers, but usually you can also right click on a layer, and you should have some options when you right click. You can create a new layer there, you can duplicate your layer, you can delete a layer. So there's all kinds of options there just to right click on them. The paintbrush tool turns your mouse pointer into a paintbrush that can become any size or shape. When you click and drag with the paintbrush tool, it's just like dragging a paintbrush along a sheet of paper, but you'll never run out of paint. GIMP has preset brushes you can use, or you can make your own. Here are some examples of brushes you might use. Tracing. It's often easier to draw something by tracing a picture of what you want to draw. You may have traced something yourself by laying a thin sheet of tracing paper over a photograph or picture and drawing along its edges. In GIMP, you can draw on a blank layer just like you would draw on a sheet of tracing paper laid over a photograph. Brush size. A brush's size is measured in pixels. A larger brush size makes thicker lines. Use a larger brush size for the outlines and edges of a drawing. Use a smaller brush size for the details within a drawing. And then this is kind of handy. Man, if I were you, I would take a little screenshot of that and save that for your records. That's great to know that a pixel of 3 by 3 gives you a nice thin line. 7 by 7 is a little thicker. 17 by 17 and 21 by 21, that gives you a really good visual of the pixels. So let's go ahead and get started with our trace. So basically what we are going to do is we've got our photograph in this first layer, and you can lock that. And then we have our trace paper, which is this transparent layer that we've put over the top. And we're just going to trace around this cute little bear. So we want to use, well, you could use what color you want, but I'm going to go ahead and use a black color, and this is the foreground color, and the white in the background is the background color. Now you can toggle back and forth and change the foreground color to white and the background color to black, okay? But whatever the foreground color is, this is what your paintbrush or your fill tool or your pencil or your text tool, that is the color that it's going to use. So if you need to change that to something else, you can just click on it and it will open up the change foreground color box. You can also change the background color by clicking on it. One of the cool things you can do is you can actually use this eyedropper tool if you want to pick a color that's already in your image. Ding! I could just click on his nose and go okay, and that's the color it will use. Let me show you a different eyedropping. Maybe I want to use this orange color. Well, it's kind of brownish. So the eyedropper cool's awesome. You can also just grab this and move it around. You can grab this and move it around to get just the perfect color that you're wanting. You also have this option. You have, whoops, I might be freezing. Hold on, let me get some RAM. You've got this one of my favorites. I love the color wheel. You can pick the color that you want. You can go for the pure hue, or you can go for a tint, which is where you add some white, or you can go for a shade, which is where you add some black. And then there is this fun little tool as well. So just want to keep on repeating over and over and over again to you how to pick the colors that you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and click here because I want that black color, and click OK. And remember, if your computer starts to freeze up, try clicking save. That will free up your RAM. Now, for some reason, I have a bizarre default on my computer where it always, when I open it, has a blank brush. So I'll always end up going over to try to paint and there's nothing there. So I've got to get a brush. I'm just going to click here in this box, and I usually like a brush. If you're going to do a trace, you probably want kind of a firm brush. I'm gonna go with the Pixel 3x3 brush. And one of the cool things about it is as soon as you come over here, you can see the size of your brush. Hopefully you can see that little dotted outline. That's how you know you've got your brush selected. Now, you don't have to go that big. If you want to go a little smaller, you can to change the brush size. You're just going to decrease this number. I'm going to take it down to 10 and then look at the size. I have to click save. Okay, oh, that looks real good. I think I like the 10. You always want to make sure that your opacity is up to 100%. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the paint that you're putting on there. But in the other case, if you were looking for like more of a transparent paint, something that's a little softer, you could change the opacity to decrease that opacity, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and start painting. All we're doing is just click and hold, and you're just gonna draw. And so if you get to the point where hand is tired, you can just let go. Okay, and then you're just gonna go around this cute little guy. Isn't that just totes adorbs? I just love it. So this is all we're doing. We're just painting a little outline around our bear, and it doesn't have to be perfect, so don't beat yourself up if it's not quite turning out the way that you wanted it to. It's okay. Mrs. Girot won't be mad at you, I promise. Don't be mad at yourself. Okay, so you're just drawing little lines that you see that you think might be important details. Look at that. This is nice. Perfect. So I've got, hey, I didn't like the way that overlapped. I'm going to hit Control Z. Remember, you can undo things to, if you didn't like them. I'm going to go ahead and just get these cute little ears in here. So cute. Oh my goodness. See why I wanted to do the bear? Now, if you want to get more detailed, I'm going to click Save. You can zoom in. Remember the zoom tool, you just click on that little magnifying glass. It should be set on zoom in. So if you just click on the screen, it'll zoom in. Do you remember what button you hold down to zoom back out? The control button will zoom you back out. So you just hold down control. Okay, you want to get a little bit closer so you can see the details. Now maybe I'm going to click on my brush. Guess what? Because I'm on that zoom tool, what's going to happen if I go to click on my screen? Do I have a paintbrush anymore? No, I don't. And hopefully you're painting in your line layer. Whatever layer is highlighted, that's the layer you're doing your work in. So I need to get my paintbrush selected again. This is probably one of the hardest things about using GIMP, is that it does not read your mind. It doesn't know when you're done zooming and when you're ready to paint again. So you do have to go in and remind it, okay, I'm painting now. So look, now my brush is too big, so I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to go down to about 5 and click Save so I can see it. Ah, that's better. So I'm just gonna paint some little eyes here. And oh, this is just the cutest little bear in the whole world. Chew! Sorry. You know what? I can't even tell what I'm painting, what I'm not painting, because it's so dark underneath. So you know what? One little trick I'm going to teach you is you can click on that layer and you can actually adjust the opacity of that layer. Now this can get you into trouble because it's going to save this opacity setting. So if you go back in and all of a sudden things are looking, just grab and, well, you should be able to just click along, but I'm going to have to use the arrows. Okay, look what just happened. Bring it back up. Okay, so now that I've got it looking a little more opaque, I can see what I'm doing. All right, oops, I'm in the wrong layer. It's locked. It didn't let me paint on that layer. I'm in that layer, and because it's locked and I tried to paint, it was like, nope, won't let you, which is why you lock that layer, so it won't let you accidentally change it. So now I've got to go back and click on my line layer where I'm doing my work, right? And I want to go in and I want to just fill in the rest of the nose. So make sure your paintbrush is selected. All right, now I can just go in and color the rest of that in black. It's looking real good. There we go. Okay. And I can put some more details in if I want to. I can make my brush even thinner. Let's see. I'm going to go down to 1. Click save, and ooh, that's super small. Probably don't want it that thin. I'll go up to about 3. That's pretty good. All right, so what other details would you put in? Would you put like his cute little chinny chin chin? Would you put any of his little fluffy fur? You might. You don't have to. It's just, you know, it's just for fun. You don't have to worry about your design being all like GQ and everything, okay? It's your first time. And plus, you know, it's this paintbrush tool, and it's, you know, your hand is jittery and wobbly. Okay, I'm gonna fill these in with black, so I'm gonna click save, and I'm gonna increase my brush, whoops, that was opacity, increase my brush size a little bit, and fill in the paint here. Nice. Okay, so I could use my eraser. Do you see some places where my eraser might come in handy, like down there? It looks a little rough in the corner there. So grab your eraser if you need to, and your eraser's a brush too. And I better click save because it's not showing it. But here's, I've got the brush, and if I just go along this line, look, it'll erase that for me. I can go along and smooth out edges of places. I can come over here and go, I like that to be a little more of a point there. If you don't like something, hit Control-Z. Get this little edge. Now, you don't have to be perfect on this assignment. This is purely practice, okay? And I just want you to be able to practice using the tools, because when you get to the project, then you'll have, you know, you'll have these tools mastered, and you'll be like, yeah, I know what I want to do for my project, because the project is just you getting creative. Okay, so you're going to get really creative for your project. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom back, and how I'm going to do that is I'll go to View, Zoom, Fit Image, and Window. I want to see all my work. Oh, look, his little paws. I need to do that. So I'm going to zoom in just on the paws. So I got my magnifying glass selected, and I'm just going to come down here. Whoops. Nope, the eraser was selected. I have to click save a lot. There. So I'm zooming in by clicking on the area that I want to zoom in on. And I need to grab my paintbrush and check to make sure it's the right size by clicking save, so I can see it's a little big. Gonna bring that down. All right, here comes the paw, claws. All right. Good enough. All right, zoom back out, view, zoom, fit image and window. There we go. We've got some little paws. Okay, so we finished our line layer. Yay! Give yourself a round of applause. Fantastic. So in this lesson, you learned how to add a new layer on top of an image, use the paintbrush tool to trace the outline of an image, and you use smaller paintbrush to trace the details of the image. All right, 5.02, adding color. In this lesson, you'll change the color of the paintbrush and then fill in the image you traced with color. The goals: change a brush's color, create a solid color background. Foreground color. Foreground color is the color of the paint you're using. Every time you open GIMP, black is the default foreground color. In the toolbox, the foreground color button will let you change the foreground color to one of your choice. When you change the foreground color, you'll change the brush color too. Hiding layers is a way to get layers out of the way without deleting them. You'll hide layers when you want to focus on a specific layer or when the other layers are making it hard to make a change. You'd like to trace the telephone, but the other images are in the way. Which images should you hide to make tracing the telephone easier? Well, you'd want to hide the book. Yeah, you'd want to hide the laptop too. So I would pick the laptop and the book. You got it. Hiding both the laptop and the book will let you see all of the telephone and trace it. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to fill in our beautiful polar bear with color. So we need to create a color layer. Now, the color layer is going to go underneath the line layer so that the line covers up the edges. So what we'll do is we'll click on this bottom layer and we're going to add a new layer right on top of it. So click your add new layer and you're going to call this color and click OK. So we've got our beautiful color layer and now we just need to pick a color. We're going to make sure that we're working in that layer only. Let's lock the other layers that we're not going to be working in so we don't accidentally make any changes to those layers, okay? Because sometimes GIMP can be silly and it might accidentally throw you in another layer and you'll be like, my brush isn't working! And you'll look over and go, after you've tried 20 other things to figure out why it's not working. And you'll go, oh, I'm in the wrong layer. No wonder it's not working. So always double check to make sure you're in the right layer. So what we're going to do here is we are going to pick a color, but let's see here. So double click or click on that. And what color do you want to paint your lovely polar bear? You know what? You could use your color picker, your eyedropper tool to pick a color off of the original image. Or if you wanted to pick a color right off the polar bear itself, let's go ahead and do that. There's a nice color. Yeah, not real crazy about that one. The color that you're picking is showing up right here. Going to try to get a little whiter. Nope, that was grayer. Okay, I'm going to go with that color right there and click OK. Now, what if you just wanted to go with white? What would have been the easiest way to just get white? You could have just flipped the foreground and back colors around, and that would have put white in your foreground, and that would have made your brush color, okay? So, but I am going to pick one of those more natural colors, and I'm going to increase the size of my brush. I can't see it. Increasing the size of my brush because it's a pretty big area that I'm filling in, and I don't want it to take forever. So that's pretty big, but I think I can go bigger. All right, I'm doing it. You ready? Okay, I'm in my color layer. Here I go. Woohoo! Look what's happening. Whoa. Why isn't it coloring on the lines? Who knows why? Who knows what's happening here? What if I color outside? Oops. I'm gonna hit Control Z, watch what happens. Oh, the whole entire thing disappeared. You know why? Because I put all my eggs in one basket. What you need to do is just do a little bit at a time and then release your mouse. Little bit at a time, release your mouse. Little at a time, release your mouse. Little at a time. And then if I mess up and I hit Control Z, it only undoes the last move that I made and it won't undo all of that other work, okay? That's a really good tip for saving your work. Just do a little bit at a time. All right, so let's just continue to fill this little puppy in. And I don't freak out if you make little mistakes and come out of the lines like that, because we can later on come in and use the eraser to touch it up, okay? So don't keep on Control Zing every little thing just because it's not totally perfect, because we'll just go in and fine tune it later. See? It's going to be great. This is so cool. I love doing this. It's very therapeutic. Now, could you picture yourself bringing your own drawings in here? Something that you drew yourself? Wouldn't that be fun? And you could make a cartoon out of it? That would be awesome. Okay, so once you get that, then you're going to zoom in. So finish filling it up, filling it in, and then you're going to zoom in so that you can get closer to the edges and use your eraser to just, you know, look at how big my brush is. And it's not even a round brush. That's why these edges look so pixelated. I think the smarter thing to do would be to use the round brush and then just bring the size way down. Yeah, so let's see. It's too bad. I just follow the K-12 directions sometimes. And you know what? We would have loved our drawings way more if we'd used the round brush. I guarantee you they wouldn't look so pixelated. All those choppy little pixels. It would have been a lot smoother. Oh well. Remember that for next time. Yeah, look at how that ear is just totally cut off. So I'm just kind of going around and just cleaning it up with my eraser. Making sure that it looks good. Okay. Remember, if a tool's not working, if you're not getting the results that you want, always check to see the opacity. Is it set to 100%? If it's not, it might not be working for you. Look at that. I'm having to go over that so many times in that way. It's not going away, which leads me to believe that I don't know what that problem is. It says it has a hardness of 100%, so I don't know why that's not going away. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check on this. I'm going to move. Oh, I know why. Let's hide the original layer. This is cool. You ready? Let's just hide the original layer right now. Click on the eye. Ah, oh look, I accidentally erased that. I'm gonna hit Control Z. Okay, and now I'm gonna hide the original layer. Oh, I better hit Control Z again a couple of times. Okay, so I've got to go back in with my paintbrush and fill in that little spot. Okay, I missed, right? Okay, so let's zoom back. Oh, look at that. Ah! I just painted instead of erased. I've got to get my eraser. Quick. Whoops. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. It's okay. Don't freak out. Just hit Control Z. Control Z is your best friend. You can go back more than one step if you need to. So now that I've got that background out of there, I can see what areas I really missed. Cool. Okay. Let's zoom back once you've got your edges all nice and clean. So go to View, Zoom, Fit Image, and Window. Sweet! What else does my polar bear need right now? Do you think it needs a background? Yeah! Alright, and you can also play around with looking at what it looks like if you get rid of your line layer. if you get rid of your color layer. Okay, so that's fun. The bucket fill tool. Using the bucket fill tool is an easy way to fill in sections of an image with a single color or pattern. You'll use it to fill in an entire layer with a single color. Okay, so we need to create a background. What's the first thing that we need to do? We're not going to create it on the color layer, right? I'm going to lock that. We're not going to create it on the line layer. What layer are we going to create it on? Well, you guessed it, we're going to create a new layer. Where's that layer going to be? Should the background be on top or should the background be on bottom? Well, it definitely needs to be on the bottom, okay? Because if you put it on top, it's going to cover everything else up, okay? So let's create a new layer. I put myself in my image layer on purpose so that when I create that new layer, and look, it's not working because my RAM is overwhelmed. There you go. We're going to call it background. Okay? All right, perfect. So make sure your background layer is selected. And we are going to use the fill bucket today. So click the fill bucket. Okay? Make sure the opacity is set to 100%. Good job. And then you need to decide what foreground color you're going to use. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make my original image visible again because I might pick a color right from this original image because I'm liking the natural colors I'm getting. So I'll click on the foreground color and I'll get my eyedropper tool and I'm going to come around here and I'll look for something that complements. Oh, you know, I'm going to close this really quick because something I'm noticing right now is that I can see the transparency grid. And the reason why is because I had decreased my opacity of this original image layer earlier, remember, because I wanted to be able to see my work. So don't forget, this is important. If you decreased the opacity of that original image layer, go back in there and bring that back up to 100%. You'll notice as you do that, you can no longer see those little transparency checkerboard marks, okay? And you've got pure, more vibrant colors to pick from. So now I can use my color picker, my eyedropper tool, and I can pick a color that really complements my bear. So that copper color is really pretty. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a try. I might not like it, but you'll notice that your cursor has a little fill button right there, right? So make sure you're in the right layer. I'm not in the right layer right now. I'm in the image layer, okay? So I need to click on the background layer because that's what I'm filling in. And click save. All right, now I'm just going to click, and it fills the background layer. And notice that because of the fact that the background layer is on top of the original image, I can no longer see the original image. It's covered up. That's great. Now, do you like that color for the background? Maybe you do. Let's see. I'm going to add a second background layer. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer, and I'm going to call this one background 2. And I'm going to hit OK or enter. Okay. Let's do another color. So I'm going to hide this one and I'm going to use my color picker and maybe I'll go with, let's see. I'm going to try this color. Click OK. Make sure I'm in the background 2 layer and click and fill it in. So now I can go make sure that my eyes are visible on both of them. And if I hide that purple layer, I can see my brown layer underneath. And I can decide which color do I like better. You know what would really be nice is if my polar bear had an earth to sit on. So that's definitely something that I could work on. Let me show you how I would do that. So right above this background, I'm going to keep this, you know what, I think I'm going to change this background color. I'm going to change it, I'm going to make these invisible so that I can see what I'm picking. I'm going to pick the color of the sky. I don't like that color of the sky. I might have to go with something bluer. So I'm going to grab this and make it bluer. Just moved this over and you can see the color in the current box and click OK. Ran out of RAM, got to click Save first, and now I'm going to fill in, oops, make sure you're in your right layer. Oh, I can't see it, that's why I had it hidden. Okay, and then instead of having a brown background layer, I'm just going to delete this layer. I don't need that one anymore. So this is how layers can come in handy when you're doing a project. You can decide what you need and what you don't need. I'm going to create a ground that goes right above this. So I'll create a new layer and I'll call this the ground. Okay, and I'm going to use a rectangle. I'm probably going to have that layer on top of the background layer. So I'm going to move it up by clicking the arrow and hit save to free up my RAM. There, my ground layer is now on top of the background layer. Make sure that you can lock your background layer. Make sure that you're in your ground layer, and I'm going to use this little rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle where I want the ground to be. So I think I'll have a horizon line about right here. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to fill this in now. This is called a selection. This is the rectangular selection tool. And right now, any work that I do is only going to be inside of this selected area. So I can grab my fill bucket and I can pick the color of the ground that I want. So I already have that color saved from before that I picked, so I can just click right there. And then I'll say, okay, I've got to save again to free up my RAM. And now I can click inside, just make sure you're in the right layer, and it inserts the ground for me. And so, do you remember how to get, well, I probably have never told you. Anytime you use a selection tool, it's got these little marching ants, okay? And you've got to make those marching ants go away. How you do that is, it is a selection tool, and all the selection tool prompts are under the select menu. So if you don't want to see those marching ants, you're just going to click none and they will go away. Perfect. And now I have my cute little bear, and I kind of feel like I need to have that black outline around on my horizon line, and I want to make a border. So there's more unity in my image. So I'm going to click on the ground image and I'm going to grab my paintbrush. Okay, and I'm going to see what size my brush is right now. That looks about the same size as what I did my outline. I think I did my outline at 10. I'll just keep it. It's at 11.06. That's pretty good. And I'm going to make that black. And if you want to make it black, you can just click this little icon down there and it'll bring it right to the default setting. Okay, perfect. So then I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line across the horizon. And you know what? I can hide my bear for a second so I can go right behind him. Alrighty. There we go. Perfect. And then I want to do an outline also around the whole background border. So I'm going to lock the ground and I'm going to my background layer. I'm going to unlock it. This is how layers work, and I'm going to increase my brush size for this background layer border. I want it to be nice and thick, so I'm just going to go all the way around the outer edge. And oh, look what happened. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to hit Control Z. Guess what? I've got to do this in my ground layer, otherwise it's not going to cover my background. So just go ahead and click. You know, I don't know why, usually when you have a layer locked, it's not supposed to let you paint on it. but for some reason it has been letting me paint on layers that are locked. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not complaining. I wanted it to paint there, but what if you didn't want any changes to be made? Then you'd be kind of bummed about that. Okay, so this is fun. And I'm liking the fact that it's all wonky. I think that adds to the character. Let's go ahead and add the bear's color in. Boom! Shakalaka. Okay, I want to go on this color layer really quick because I can see some areas where I need to get in there and use my eraser. So I'm going to click Save, grab my eraser. I need to decrease my brush size. I know that. I'm going to go down to like 5 and I'm going to erase the white. Okay, around the paws. Perfect. And I think on my line layer, I need to get a little more black in these spots. So I'm going to increase my brush size just a smidgen. Oops, wrong color. Wrong tool, actually. I'm using the erase tool and not the brush tool. So click Save and grab the brush. Okay, so all of this trial and error. This is called rendering. Okay. Good job. My nose has a couple of speckles on it. Need to fill those in. You could put a twinkle in the eyes if you wanted to. What do you say? Whoops. Hit Control Z if you mess up your eyes. Zoom in. Okay, little details like this can make all the difference. Let's grab, I'm going to change the foreground color. Grab my brush. Okay, and decrease the size of my brush so it's really tiny, and I'm just going to come in there and put a little sparkle in his eye. Oh, I made a little, should put a little glimmer on his nose. I'm going to increase my brush size a little bit. And you know what? This is where I'm going to go for a fuzzy brush. I'm going to click on my brush type here, and I'm going for this smoother, like fuzzier edge. And let's see, yeah, I like that a little better. There, that's so cute. Now you can go View, Zoom, Fit Image in Window. Oh, look at how having a little glimmer of highlight in the eyes and on the nose just made him look so lifelike. All right, congratulations, you finished. This is an awesome project. I hope you had fun. In this lesson, you changed the paintbrush tool's color, used the paintbrush tool to fill in the color of the traced image, you hid the original image layer, you used the bucket fill tool to create a color background and the ground. You added color to the image. You made an outline around the image and created some unity using line. Nice job. All right, so the last thing you need to do is make sure that your work is saved. So you're going to go File, Save one last time. Okay, so this is your GIMP.xcf file. Then you're going to export. So you're going to go File, export as. Make sure whenever you're exporting something that any layer that you want to show up, you have the eye open, and any layer that you don't want showing up in your export, you hide that, make that invisible, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and click Save again. File, Export As, and then this is correct. This is your first and last name in the Unit 5 trace, and you are not going to save it as a PNG. You're going to save it as a JPEG. The easiest way is to just backspace 3 times, dun, 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 to erase that, and type JPG. If you're uncomfortable doing that, you can always come down to the Select File Type by extension and click the plus, and then scroll down and select JPEG manually, and that will update the file extension for you. Remember, before you click export, you've got to slide this over to the side, then click export, because you're going to make sure that it's optimized. You don't want to change the size of it and have it look all pixelated. Now it's at 90% and I'm only at 45 kilobytes. What did I say I wanted it under, but as close to as possible? 500 kilobytes. So go ahead and increase that quality to 100%. Look, even at 100%, it's only 101 kilobytes. It's such a small file. That's going to upload so fast you won't even notice it uploading. It's just going to be instantaneous. That's what you want. And then go ahead and click export. Fantastic. So now you are going to go into the content and scroll down to Unit 5. When you click on there, you'll see the Dropbox here, okay? You'll click on your Dropbox, and of course, there'll be an upload button here. When you click upload, you're gonna go into where you have your image design folder saved. Mine's in my pictures. Here's my image design folder. We were working in the resources under Unit 5, so that's where it saved it today. Remember to slide this over so you can see your extensions. How do you get those extensions? Go to View, click on the details, and make sure it says File Name Extension selected. And you can see that this is your first and last name Unit 5 JPEG. You're going to upload that. And your Unit 5 trace.xcf. That's your GIMP file. You're going to upload that. So the cool thing about that is when I open your GIMP file, I can see all your layers and make sure that you followed all the directions correctly. And that's the reason why I ask you to do everything step by step with me, so that when I grade it, I can see that yes, you followed all the directions and completed all of the objectives. Good job. Now the JPEG file is the one that I'll actually be showing to the class. So that's the reason why you submit both. Have a great day.